One of my favorite parts of the ATA annual conference is the brainstorm networking event. I'm always inspired by the new scenarios that people are discussing, and it's great to see freelancers and agencies in the same room, exchanging ideas and learning from each other. It reminds me of just what a big tent we are.
What I'm looking forward to most in San Francisco is that feeling of a translator's family reunion. The feeling of being at the opening session and seeing over 1,500 colleagues from all around the world sharing that moment together.
Hey everyone, Matt Baird here, host of the ATA podcast. Each month on the podcast, we bring you news and insights from the American Translators Association. Today we're going to talk about the association's flagship event, the ATA Conference, held each year in late October or early November in cities across the United States. This year is our 57th annual conference, and it's going to be held in San Francisco, November 2nd to the 5th. For many ATA members, the annual conference is a bright spot on the calendar, and that includes me. I've been attending for 15 years now, and I wouldn't miss it. It's one of the largest translation and interpreting conferences in the world, attracting nearly 2,000 people each year. It's where dedicated language professionals from around the world come together to connect, keep pace with the industry, network, and build relationships, or even sow the seeds for long-term partnerships. It's a place where passionate speakers and leaders in the field inspire and motivate us to take our careers to the next level. At the conference, you'll come across translators, interpreters, and language company owners alongside teachers, project managers, web and software developers, and representatives of hospitals, universities, and government agencies. And I haven't listed them all. Now, talk to any regular attendee and you'll soon discover that ATA's annual conference is a must for anyone in our industry. I like to say that it's the one time a year that I get to geek out on translation, in a ginormous way. It's always more than paid for itself as far as I'm concerned. A connection I made at my very first conference in 2000 ultimately kickstarted my freelance business. And being an active member of the German language division led to a job offer in Germany, which seriously simplified my move overseas in 2008. Interestingly enough, that connection was made in 2007, the last time ATA's annual conference was held in San Francisco. Now, a lot has changed in 9 years, and this year's return to San Francisco will be marked by an all-new conference before the conference, so to speak, now known as the Advanced Skills and Trainings Day. Now, even if you're a conference veteran, you'll want to stay tuned to learn more about that, believe me. Joining me today to talk about AST Day, as it's known, and what else awaits us at this year's annual conference are ATA President David Rumsey and ATA President-elect Corinne McKay. Nice to have you both with me today.
Glad to be here, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Great. And a little note before I turn the mic over to David and Corinne. At the end of the podcast, I'll let you all know where you can register and get more information about the conference, especially for any of you listeners who have never attended. You'll also find links on the podcast webpage at atanet.org. So don't do too much surfing while you're listening today, unless, of course, you're one mighty mean multitasker. Okay, so let's get started. Corinne, I'd like to start with you. As president-elect, you are the official conference organizer. How's it going? Is everything on schedule?
Yes, all systems are go. The preliminary program is out. We have 176 sessions, and that is everything from literary translation to artificial intelligence and everything in between. Registration is open, and registration numbers are looking great. I think the big news that people would be interested in who are listening to this podcast is that the room block at the conference hotel is essentially full.
Oh, really?
We have a very few rooms with one bed left over for Saturday night, but otherwise the Hyatt is sold out. It sold out a lot more quickly than we anticipated. So we've moved to an overflow hotel, the Hilton, which is 0.6 of a mile from the Hyatt. And the exhibit hall is also filling up. That's always exciting. We've sold over 2/3 of the booths.
Is the Hilton offering a special price for ATA members as well?
Yes, definitely. We were able to negotiate with them to secure a rate of $299 for a single or a double, which is a really attractive price for downtown San Francisco.
Excellent. So with the conference hotel basically full, we're already in a overflow hotel. Does that mean that attendance is going to be high this year, or even record-breaking maybe?
Let's hope. It's hard to say because every year is different, but San Francisco is always a really popular location. When we met there before in 2007, we had 1,825 attendees, which was our largest conference before the New York City conference.
Okay. Well, I can say that if 2007 is any indication, I was at that conference, then I think we are in for a banner year this year. David, let's talk to those listeners who have never been to an ATA annual conference before, or haven't attended in a while. Why should they attend? What's the annual conference all about, and what's in it for them?
Well, I think you explained a lot of the reasons before. The ATA conference is one of the largest events in the T&I industry. It's where our industry really comes together, everybody, from freelance translators and interpreters to educators, software developers, government officials, and of course, language services provider. It is literally the big tent. There's really no better place to learn about the industry. You can network with other translators and interpreters, you can connect with companies and suppliers, you can learn about new trends. We have over 170 sessions over 3 days, actually 4 days if you count AST Day. You can gain insights from a wide variety of veteran T&I professionals and experts. You can expand your network of colleagues and customers, hone your business skills, your translation skills. But one of the key things is that you can talk to like-minded professionals who face similar challenges. And that's really why a lot of people refer to the conference as a type of family reunion. It's a place where you can meet people who know what you do for a living and the challenges that you face. It's a real energizer, a real boost to your career. It'll sort of reignite your passion for the profession. I recommend attending to both longtime practitioners as well as new people entering the industry. You'll always learn something new, be it a new type of technology, a new business tip, a new way of working, or even potentially a new way of work or a new field of work. And I also tell people, think of it in terms of an investment. If you secure a new client and a couple of new projects, you can essentially cover the cost of attending. But with that lengthy introduction, you don't necessarily have to take my word for it, even though I'm the president. We do get hundreds of comments each year from attendees, and you can hear some of those comments online on ATA's YouTube channel.
Well, David, I was pretty overwhelmed, I can tell our listeners, the first time I attended, and I always sat in the back of the room at the sessions. I didn't talk to very many people. I certainly didn't get the most out of it, and I could have used some advice at the time. So what are some things you might tell first-time attendees?
Well, it can definitely be intimidating for people at first, particularly if you fall into the category of person who prefers to remain behind the computer screen. My advice really is to remember that everybody is in the same boat. We're all working in the same field. We're all colleagues who are here to share our experiences. So be bold, start small, and just say hello to somebody. And before you know it, you'll connect with people at the conference and you'll help discover a whole new world.
That is really good advice, and it took me to my second conference to finally do things like that. Now, does the ATA actually provide any tangible resources for first-timers?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're the planner type, there are a number of tips you can get as a first-timer on the ATA website. We also have a free webinar called Tips for Navigating your First ATA Annual Conference. There's even a Yahoo group for first-timers where you can ask questions, get tips, and maybe make a connection in advance of the conference. We also have a really popular program at the conference called Buddies Welcome Newbies, which matches veteran conference attendees, in other words, buddies, with first-time attendees, newbies. It's really popular. It gives you somebody to connect with who can kind of tell you what's worth doing, what's perhaps not worth investing your time in. People really enjoy that program. And if you're a veteran out there listening, I would encourage you to volunteer as a buddy. We always have a lot of newbies, and we always need a few extra buddies.
Great, and I can let our listeners know, those veterans out there, I've been a buddy the past 2 years, and it was actually it's a really cool experience for me as well. You're kind of reminded of what it was like, and you're forced to, bring the conference down to, the brass tacks and explain it on that level and give people some tips so that they're not as overwhelmed. It's really fun, and you meet great people that way as well. Now, as a reminder to our listeners, we'll be putting all the links up on the podcast website, and I'll mention them again at the end of the podcast. David, before we maybe move on to another topic, do you have any other tips for first-timers you'd like to share with our audience?
I do have a couple tips, and the first one applies to first-timers and to veterans, and that is download the app. The conference app is available in September. It includes the entire program, the list of vendors. It allows you to create a profile. You can connect with other colleagues that work in your language. You can actually take notes on the app for each of the sessions that you can download later. It's great. You can also create your own personalized schedule so that you can use your time really wisely. The other tip related to that is I would recommend everybody start planning early to get an idea of what sessions and what events you want to go to and which vendors you'd like to check out. Your plans might change when you get there, but if you arrive without a plan, that's a surefire way to get overwhelmed and burned out. I'd also make sure that you take time for downtime, just to refresh in your room, have a cup of coffee. One of the other items that I haven't mentioned yet is the roommate blog, and this can help you locate a potential roommate, maybe even somebody who has already booked a room at the conference hotel. So in any case, if you're looking to save money, check out the roommate blog. You'll find a link to it on the hotel page on the conference website.
Great, thanks, David. That's really great advice, and I can let people know too that I've shared a room for years, and with the same ATA member, we've become good friends, and I really enjoy his company, and don't mind saving a buck or two on the rooms. Corinne, let's turn back to you, and the big news this year for the conference is the so-called AST Day, or Advanced Skills and Training Day, and I've already signed up for one of the courses, and I'm really excited about this new format. So let's talk about that. What is AST Day, and how did it come about?
Yeah, over the years, we have gotten lots of requests from attendees for more advanced and hands-on sessions, so we developed AST, or Advanced Skills and Training Day, to meet that need. So I guess the key information is that it takes place on the Wednesday before the main conference starts, and we have 2 sets of sessions, 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. These are designed to be intense and interactive, so come ready to really dive in and interact. And the space in those, you'll notice that each of them has a registration limit so that we can make sure everyone gets some individual attention from the presenter.
Okay. What kinds of courses are being offered?
We have 16 sessions total. So 2 of those are preparations for the ATA certification exam, one in Spanish to English and one in English to Spanish. And the other 14 run sort of the full range of topics. So we have, for example, technology, including advanced Trados Studio, mastering PDF conversion, Microsoft Word formatting, Dragon Naturally Speaking, translating digital marketing materials. We have a bunch of sessions for our interpreter members, like note-taking, simultaneous interpreting delivery, long consecutive interpreting, and site translation. We have a couple of marketing sessions, including direct client marketing techniques and using your superpowers to get clients. We have writing sessions, one on technical writing and one on marketing writing, and then to round things out, a session on international financial reporting standards and one on literary translation. So I think whatever your interests, we have something for you. Now that I enumerated all of them, I want to attend them all.
I was just going to say the same thing. That really does cover a wide range, and I have to admit there were 2 at the same time that I wanted to take, so I had to make a tough choice. Now, who are the speakers that you've gotten to teach these awesome courses?
Well, it's an all-star cast. We invited all of the presenters, and they're all at the top of the specializations I mentioned. So some of them are our most popular presenters from previous ATA conferences, and some of them are people who you probably wouldn't have a chance to see someplace else. So for example, Christine Carey, who's presenting the Superpowers session, is from Get Clients Now, which some people might have read, that marketing book for freelancers. And we have a number of faculty members from the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey. So we took advantage of them being right there.
Excellent. Okay, now this might be a rather obvious question, but come on, pitch this to me a little more. Why should I sign up for the AST Day?
Yeah, no, it's always good to talk about the benefits. I mean, personally, I would say it's a really unique opportunity for this in-depth in-person training. So I think these days, most of us do a lot of training online, and that is great for material you want to digest at your own pace. But I think all of us who attend in-person training would say there's really nothing like it when you want that interactive element and you want a real crash course in this subject area.
Okay, now what are all these great courses going to cost me?
They're great courses. Well, I think they're an excellent value. Everything but the certification sessions is $150 for 3 hours, and the certification sessions are $200 just because you get a practice test for the exam and you're going to get some kind of individual feedback from the trainers.
Okay. And now how do you register for AST Day?
So as with everything else, you'll want to go to the conference website at atanet.org. And I should mention too that you cannot register for AST Day on its own. You have to register for the full conference in order to come to an AST session.
Okay, that is good to know. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about AST Day?
Well, I think just that we are really eager for your feedback on how this inaugural day works. We've restyled it a bit, and we want to know what everyone who attends these sessions thinks of it.
Okay, great. Thank you. David, turning back to you, let's talk a bit more about the conference, Thursday to Saturday. And, beyond the sessions, we've already mentioned over 170 of them. The conference offers a number of other activities for people to participate in. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Oh, absolutely. There are lots of quote-unquote extracurricular activities each year. Some of the things you can check out besides the regular sessions include the exhibition hall. That's always a big draw. You'll find loads of vendors selling the latest translation software or interpreting tools. Dictionaries, you can check out educational programs, job recruiters. The exhibit hall also includes a tool support station. where you can get answers to specific questions about software that you may already have. And it doesn't really involve a sales pitch. There's also a special job fair that I think is taking place on Thursday evening, where recruiters and contractors can meet each other face to face and network and develop connections. That session is extremely popular. We've also hosted for a number of years something called Brainstorm Networking, and I think that takes place on Friday evening. And this is a really fun event where people rotate from table to table discussing answers to common problems that translators and interpreters face. It's a really great way to meet people, and then you learn from them at the same time. There are also a host of other division-related dinners and off-site networking events. I would encourage all the listeners to check with their division web pages or the listserv for more information about those.
Okay, great. Now, Corinne, we've just heard that's a lot of stuff. You know, everything we've talked about so far, it's a lot of stuff packed into 3 to 4 days. And you know, it took me several years, as I mentioned before. Was very nervous at the beginning, and it took me several years before I really could maximize my conference experience. And David has mentioned preparation and planning early, and you know, preparation and organization are definitely key. How can attendees make the most out of their conference experience?
Yeah, so for our first time attendees, I would just echo what David said. On the conference website, we have a link to resources for first time attendees, including a free webinar on making the most of the conference and information about our newbies and buddies program that can make the conference a lot less overwhelming. Because I agree with you, Matt, the welcome celebration is kind of like a wedding reception with 1,000 people. So it's helpful to have at least one person to talk to. And I also think for everybody, it's important to pace yourself. You know, we're seeing an increasing number of people arriving Tuesday night. So you're at the conference for up to 5 days, and you don't want to be too exhausted to make the most of what you invested in being there.
Yes, I can wholeheartedly agree with that. Now, the conference is also shifting gears here a little bit. The annual conference is also an opportunity for members to learn more about the association in general, to speak with the leadership, and to make their voices heard. David, you are the sitting president. How do you tell us how attendees take advantage of that opportunity, or those opportunities, I should say?
Well, the most obvious opportunity is to come to the meeting of all members on Friday morning. This is a meeting takes place in the largest hall. It's open to everybody. And in addition to discussing the state of the association, the president, that's me, and the board, we take comments and questions from the audience. If you're interested in learning about the candidates that are running for the board this year, then there's something we call the Candidates Forum, and that takes place on Thursday morning during what we call the meeting of all voting members. So you need to be a voting member in order to vote for candidates. But you can also connect with the board members informally. If you find me in the hallway, you can also connect with me informally. People always do. We have special tables set up called Breakfast with the Board, each breakfast where you'll find board members and you can talk to them one-on-one. And as always, we have a regular board meeting scheduled. It takes place Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. All of the ATA board meetings are open to the public, and we do welcome guests. There's time at the end of the meeting for guests to make comments or to raise comments or questions to the board. So there's lots of opportunities for you to connect.
Those two sessions for guests to make comments are both at the end of the Saturday session and the Sunday morning session, correct?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Great. I actually attended the first board meeting my first board meeting in last year in Miami. Maybe both of you remember that I actually slipped in.
Oh yes, I remember that.
And I'm proud to say that I attended, and I'm serious about that. And I would highly recommend it to anybody out there listening. If you'd like a firsthand look into how ATA really works, this is one of the best ways to see that, to really see the board directors sitting down together and discussing the issues that are on their plates that the ATA is dealing with on a daily basis. And as David said, it's open to the public, and the door is always open. It's not like the sessions where they close the door once the session starts. The door is always open. You can easily slip in and out. You're not required to stay for the whole meeting. You can slip in, listen a little bit if you're there for the comment session and you'd like to share something. It's a great way to connect with the board. Well, I don't know about you, but my head is spinning right now. We've covered a lot of ground today in the podcast. Or maybe if you're listening out there, you might just be chomping at the bit to register and saying, Matt, would you please shut up so I can get off this podcast and go register? Well, in a minute, I know I've been threatening, but in a minute I'm going to tell you right where you can do just that and more. But first, I want to turn back to David and Corinne. Do either of you have any final thoughts for our listeners today? Corinne?
Sure. We know that these days in the 21st century, it's easy to think that online training is all you need. And I think it gets increasingly hard to carve out the time and money for an in-person conference. But we promise that if you make that investment in attending in San Francisco, it will be well worth your time and money. And you'll come away from the experience with a new sense of motivation and purpose for the rest of the business year. At least I've attended every year since 2004, and I always do.
I can second that motion. It is always a big motivator for me. Now, David, how about you?
Well, again, I go back. I cannot stress enough to the listeners, if you've registered, to download the app. So there is no paper program. Make sure you download the app or check out the conference website in September to download it. It saves us a lot of paper, and it gives you a lot of chance to prep in advance. And one other thing I want to remind people about is that we have phased out the conference tote bags. We did that last year. And instead, we sell a custom ATA tote bag. And these things are great. They're padded for your laptop. They come with lots of pockets for pencils and papers and water bottle. It's lighter and a hell of a lot cheaper than a regular laptop case. And I use mine everywhere. So I encourage people to check that out.
Great. Thanks. I actually will plug the app as well. I'm a big fan of it, and it's gotten better every year. So use it, and you will not have to have any paper with you all day. You can even use it to take notes on your laptop or on your iPad. So, all right. I want to thank you two very much for joining me today. It was a lot of fun and very informative, and I can't wait to see you both in San Francisco.
Thank you, Matt. We'll see you there.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Great to talk to you.
Okay, now I promise to repeat some links, so get your pens ready or open your browsers now. The website for ATA's 57th annual conference is atanet.org/conf/2016. That's CONF as in the first four letters in conference. atanet.org/conf/2016. You'll find everything you need right there. The schedule of events, the list of sessions, speaker bios, the link to register, and to book a room or find a roommate. And newbies, you should click on bonus in the menu bar at the top. That's where you'll find tips and links to the webinar, etc. It's also easy to get to the conference website from the ATA homepage at atanet.org. Simply click on Events and then ATA Annual Conference. I'd like to close the podcast today by saying this. Last year in Miami, attendees were asked if they learned new skills while at the conference. 93% said yes. And when we asked them what they liked best, They said things like, and I quote, "The immense possibilities. There is always something for everyone." Or, "Feeling the pulse of the industry and meeting high-profile translators." And, "Making valuable connections to get my business off the ground." So, with that bit of inspiration, my job is done. See you next time. Wait a minute, don't go just yet. A couple more things. If you joined us for the first time today, you can find previous episodes on iTunes as well as the ATA's website and YouTube channel. In past episodes, we've talked about the all-new computerized ATA certification exam, the ATA client outreach kit, and taking you inside the ATA boardroom to learn about the issues ATA board directors discuss. So subscribe to us today and you won't miss a future episode. And if you like what you heard today, please leave a review on iTunes before you go. We'd really appreciate it, and help us spread the word. Tell your friends on Facebook, your Twitter followers, link to us from your website. And by the way, ATA has a Facebook. We tweet, and we're all about being linked in, so be sure to follow us there as well. Finally, if you have an idea for a future podcast, or if there's something about ATA you would like to know more about, let me know, and we just might produce an episode about it. Or just tell me what you think about the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Write to me at podcast@ata.org. And now for the credits. This episode was produced by yours truly, with editorial support from Corinne McKay, David Rumsey, and Mary David. At ATA headquarters, Mary David handles organization and planning, while Rashawn Pacarel provides technical support. Thank you all very much.